Hi, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of Focal Point on AAFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Congenial, convivial, and amiable as always. The program is Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio, and you are listening to the American Family Radio Talk Network, AAFR Talk. I want to begin, before we jump into the Word, by reading some quotes from a political figure, from a president. And I want to ask you, as you listen to me read these statements, what country do you think this guy is the president of? This is how the news story begins. People will lose their human dignity without values enshrined in Christianity, without moral standards that have taken millennia to take shape. That's how the news story begins. Here's the president being quoted. We believe that it is natural and appropriate to defend those values. Any minority deserves respect for its distinctive identity, but the rights of the majority must not be questioned. He believes, the story goes on, that our country cannot move forward without cultural and national self-determination. Otherwise, the country won't be able to respond to external or internal challenges and can't be successful in global competition. He went on, this is the president being quoted again, there are foreign policy and moral aspects to this. We have been able to see many Euro-Atlantic countries effectively embark on a path of renouncing their roots, including Christian values which underlie Western civilization. That involves the negation of moral principles and any traditional identity, natural, cultural, religious, or even sexual. Policies are pursued that put large families and same-sex partnerships in the same category, belief in God and belief in Satan. Excesses of political correctness reach the point where there are serious discussions on the registration of parties that have propaganda of pedophilia as their objective. People in many European countries are ashamed and afraid of speaking about their religion. Holidays are abolished or given other names. This is a direct path to degradation and primitiveness, to deep demographic and moral crises. What can be a better indication of a moral crisis in human society than its loss of the ability for self-reproduction? So who is it? Which president is the lion of Christianity, the defender of Christian values, the president that's calling his nation back to embracing its identity as a nation founded on Christian values? Those, ladies and gentlemen, are quotes from Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. The contrast between that president, our president, could not possibly be more striking. Just a bizarre day to ever think we would get to the day where Russia would be more advanced spiritually than the United States. I mean, it's just staggering to see what is happening to this country. Now, reading in the book of Esther in the course of this week, chapter 2 is the story of the Miss Persia contest that was held by the king. His name is Xerxes. Remember, they went out and found the most beautiful young virgins in all of the land, and they're virgins. Now, there's a section in here where she goes to his palace in the evening and doesn't go back to her own quarters until the next morning, so it might be easy to think that there was sexual activity involved, but the scripture says she was a virgin after this. She was a virgin before, she was a virgin after, was a virgin until, apparently, according to the text, until the king chose her to be his wife. So remember, the king had gotten angry with his wife Vashti because she had refused his summons for her to come so he could show her off to his friends and fellow dignitaries. His anger abates. His counselors say, look, you need to find a replacement for her. So they brought all of the best, the most beautiful young women, virgins in the kingdom. And the advice to the king was, let the young woman who pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti. So that introduces us to Esther, whose name is Hadassah, by the way. That's her Hebrew name, Hadassah. According to Esther 2, she had a beautiful figure and was lovely to look at. So she's brought into this harem is what it's called. This is this select group, this palace that's set up for these women, and they undergo beauty treatments and all that kind of a thing. And so there's one guy in charge of it, a guy by the name of Haggai, and the young woman pleased him and won his favor. So she became the favorite of the guy that was managing this entire bevy of young beauties. He advanced her and her young woman to the best place in the harem. Esther had not made known her people or kindred. Nobody knew yet that she was a Jew. And now after being 12 months under the regulations for the women, since this was the regular period of their beautifyings, it was her turn to go into the king. Now Esther was winning favor, we're told, in the eyes of all who saw her. The king loved Esther more than all the women, and she won grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. So she's still a virgin, they're still virgins, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen. And then he celebrated by granting a remission of everybody's taxes in the province. So a lot of reasons for the folks to be happy that Esther had been chosen as the queen, not the least of which they got a remission on all of their taxes. Now, a couple of things I want us to observe before we go to prayer. Number one, Esther's beauty was a gift to her from God. She didn't create that. She didn't manufacture that. That was a gift to her from God. And so all of us may have different attributes that are a gift to us. It might be intelligence. It might be personality. It might be drive. It might be determination. It might be intellectual ability. It might be athletic ability. But all of these things are gifts from God. And then what we see, and so there's no basis for pride in all of this. And then the other thing we see here is that Esther was taken out of a position of complete and utter obscurity and elevated by God to a place where she was able to influence world events. So it's a reminder to us that God is able to take very ordinary people who are obscure and insignificant in the eyes of the world, and he can lift us up to where we can accomplish great things to serve his kingdom. Well, let's go to prayer. Father, by your grace, Esther was a beautiful young woman, lovely in form and features. It was her physical beauty which brought her first to the attention of the palace and the king. And yet by her character, she won the favor and approval of everyone who saw her. Father, you have given each of us gifts and abilities which can and will open doors of opportunity for us. You may have given us athletic ability or intelligence or beauty or personality or unique talents that we may possess in greater degree than others around us. I pray that we will recognize that these are gifts from you so that we do not become proud or think more highly of ourselves than we ought to think. May we humble ourselves under your mighty hand so that you may exalt us as you did Esther at the proper time. You lifted Esther from a place of total obscurity to a place of enormous influence. I pray that we will take heart from this and believe that you can use us, despite our lack of prominence, to serve you and your larger purposes. Grant us the character of Christ that we may win the favor and approval of those who see us.